But anyway, but it all kind of starts here. And so you can actually click on the picture itself. I might re-record this. We'll find out because I'm getting problems with my earbuds, but this is hard to read. So the scholarly article is has the whole thing written out, but you can kind of pick it out. But you know this is what the newspaper looked like that quoted Joseph Smith III. And this is the picture he's talking about, which is a picture of the painting when you look at this. Okay, so this is 1910. He sends them a picture of the painting. But we're going to start here in the timeline where, so when I was talking to these people, they were asking a bunch of questions. And then for my birthday in September 2019, I bought the Joseph Smith papers, the 3 volumes of just his journals. I didn't buy everything, but that was a birthday present from someone because I was just obsessed with Joseph Smith's journal. I was just reading his journal 2017 and was just loved reading it. I just like studying history. They say it's David Rogers, and the whole summer, well, that's like 2 years, I kept hearing it was William Major, yeah, all this stuff, as most of you probably heard. And it's not David Rogers. But anyway, they believed it was. So in 2019, I didn't know. So it wasn't until it was like almost 2 years later that I found all their sources and see the evidence supporting that. But it was September 1842 when Joseph Smith would have been 36. He would have turned 37 in December 1842. That's important to note. He spends several days on this painting. And so if you watch some of my oldest videos, I'm like, yeah, I've read these blogs. I'm sure they know what they're talking about. And he probably didn't have time to sit down, so they took a photo, and then the photo of him was used as the basis of the painting. Like, that's just not true, actually. Then you got 1875-76, so this is actually 1930, but Junius F. Wells, he talks a lot about David Rogers. So in 1930 and 1885, Junius F. Wells is like, this was done by David Rogers. But it wasn't until this 1930 article that we find out in 1875. So I'm just going by the story. He visits Emma Smith. I think we can click on this and go to the link here. And you have to log in. But if you have a church account, you can see this. So she let him stay in the Navier house, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically he's asking all these questions of. So Joseph, it's very clear that he's for sure, Emma is telling him a story of what Joseph thought about the painting. So he's alive when the painting's done. That's one thing. And one interesting thing that it's confusing, but he's confused, you know? So 1930, he's been confused about this since 1885, and it's 1930. But he mentions the lithograph, which I've always been fascinated because that's the one that shows, that's the one that shows the jacket that really looks like my guy's jacket with a split upper, darker lapel. And he's saying that he heard that that painting was based on a real daguerreotype done by Joseph Smith, by L.R. Foster between the end of April and the martyrdom of June 1844. So Junius F. Wells is saying, I had heard this, I don't know, but you can read that whole thing. Okay. Then you've got this specific picture was donated July 25th, 1879 to the Library of Congress. You can see that by going down here, July 1879. And then if you actually read what they say it's a photo of a painting. Clearly it's been edited. But then, so that's July 25th, August 25th, 1879. So Emma has passed away. And so he inherited the painting. And so this is the August 15th, 1879 article from the Saints Herald, that Joseph Smith III is running, like he is the editor. He's living there. See, they mentioned Sandwich, but if you skip, if you click on this right here, you can go to it. You can read through this and hear them talk all about Plano. He lives there. He's been there for 13 years. Yeah, he's been there about 13 years. First went in 1860. So, talking about there being possibility of him running into Jess Bibbins is, again, extremely high. There's a ton of evidence he was there. His own memoir says he moved to Plano, anyway. But it says basically that the portrait was taken by a painter from New York. Joseph Smith, his father, was 36 years of age. So it's not really major. Umber represents him as he appeared at the time, remained in possession of Amherst. So everything that Junior Steph Wells says lines up. And so Louis C. Bideman and Janie Robinson, that Joseph Smith III was writing to, I still haven't found that letter. Anyway, he's involved in this. He's the editor. He's going to make sure that it's accurate. And he says he was 36. He was about 36. So David Rogers painted Joseph Smith when he was 36. Because he turned, in December 1842, he turned 37. So December 23rd, 1842, he's 37. He's not 36 anymore. He turns 38 in 1843. December 1843, he's 38. He died before he turned 39 in 1844, So Joseph Smith III was 10. So that painting was already done. He wasn't commissioning that painting. But then you can see a link here and see, okay, David Rogers is from New York. And it's a 1910 letter that he mentions that this man painted Hiram Smith and Joseph Smith. But we're not to that yet, part of the timeline. But Joseph Smith III is selling photographs of the painting. The Library of Congress says this is a photo of a painting. Clearly has been edited. Okay. Moving on. So that's 1879. So about 6 years later, he's already selling all these copies. Then it all starts. This is where it all starts. I didn't know I could find this online. I thought everything I'd have to find in person in downtown, in like Salt Lake. So this was, I think I found this as we started like writing, like we're literally finally writing something together that hopefully gets published. And anytime someone questions me or anything, I just work harder and I end up finding things and getting excited. So then you've got this Deseret News article where it all starts. And it'll take a long time to load. But there, you can read that. I'm not going to pick it apart, but it's there. But what they state is a portrait of the prophet C.W. Carter, a photographer of this city, has in his possession a daguerreotype of the prophet Joseph Smith taken in Nauvoo in the year 1843, probably within a year of his death. The old acquaintances of the illustrious man, so people that saw him and knew him, pronounced it to be an excellent likeness. So that's where you're like, wait a minute. It's clearly a painting. If it was a photo, they would be like, of course it's like him. Anyway, I have the opinion that the busts and pictures of him, so often paintings were references pictures, and sometimes pictures were actual photographs. It's hard to tell sometimes. It made him look too effeminate. This portrait, this is a really interesting statement, tends to confirm the face is shown appears to be stronger and more mature looking, the head broader. Carter has taken photographic copies of the daguerreotype. which he proposes to touch up with India ink and have copied again until pictures true to nature as possible in various sizes can be produced. So this is August 1885. And so we do find on page 236, the memoirs of Joseph Smith III, that Joseph Smith III says that in July 1885, so a month before this, he went to Salt Lake. He would travel there a lot. He was preaching and doing his deal. And Carter tried to bond with him, but he doesn't say much, just like he's trying to get Carter to join his church. Showed sympathy, and he says he had a photograph of himself taken and talked for like a really long time. He said, it was something like I might have had my photo taken by him, I don't know. Then October, a couple months later, you have Junius F. Wells that I already mentioned, but this is so 1885. It's when he first mentions in the contributor. So you got he says, so it's a little bit more vague when I read this. I really wanted, until this year, I didn't find, well, actually this fall was when I found that the actual source, like I'm working alone, really, on a lot of this, on the historical side. I don't necessarily know where everything is, so I apologize if it's frustrating to you. But you know, I've talked to the church history department, but they're definitely not helping me. I mean, they were nice when I went in person, like they helped me. One guy, they just sort of really interrogated me when I came in. I was trying not to tell them what I was researching, just that I already knew the call numbers, everything I wanted to look up, and they got it out of me that I was studying photographs of Joseph Smith, and this guy came over. He's like, "What? You think you're gonna find something that's gonna prove it?" And I was just kind of like, "You're gonna try to get me to help you prove it?" I'm like, "No, I'm gonna do it." And he didn't say it very nice, It was just kind of like, "I'm already working forensic analyst. I already know what call number. I know what I'm here. I know what microfilm I want to look at. But not asking you to do any work for me. It's too late." It's been like 4 years. The time to help me would have been 4 years ago. But they sent me the scholarly article. I mean, they did help me. And interrogating me then was really good because it turned into a website like a month later. Because I was like, okay, I need to explain this on a website. That's why I created a website, just to explain it, to get help from other people. But it's a great day and age that, but I've talked about this a lot. The contributor, you can read this whole article there. And so they start talking about, I posted a lot of this because in a scholarly article, William B. McCall starts saying some things that don't make much sense when you actually read the source in full, because he's putting a bunch of ellipses and starts saying that Dan Wegelin saw the daguerreotype and make all these conclusions and things like that. And I'll show you Dan Wegelin's picture on the bottom here. So Dan Wegelin did an ink and drawing picture, but Junius F. Wells is saying what Carter has and what people are talking about is just a photo of the painting, because I know there. So it wasn't until 1930 he really gives the full story that I, in 1875, saw it. It's easier to understand this way. And I didn't know that whole part of the story until I found the original source. I get excited when I find the original source of things and I can read past the ellipses, okay, and read the whole thing. That's what I like to do. So the page is really long, but deal with it. But this is the first time he's saying it's David Rogers painted that. It's just a photo of the painting. And he even mentions, and he's promoting C.W. Carter. You can find photographs of the daguerreotype of the painting. So there's a daguerreotype of the painting. There's that timeline. So this is Dan Weblin's picture. So it's obviously just of the painting. It would be weird if Lucy Foster 1844 photo perfectly matched an 1842 painting, you know. But this is Carter's picture that he had done. So Joseph Smith III doesn't really talk about in his memoirs. I don't know why. Then you jump forward 14 years. You've got Joseph Smith III in 1899 donates a painting done, I don't know when it was done, by Victor Cress, well before 1899. So this is a postmortem painting. This painting, I strongly believe he did use the daguerreotype that I believe my picture was copied from to do this. But I explained that a little bit further down. Um, and so there's a link there to the Iowa Historical Society. And it says it was done by Victor Cress. And it basically looks the same, but because my headphones are dying. Um, Going back to here. I'll just finish this up real quick. But I've already talked about the similarities and just how different it does look from the forward-facing painting. Because you can go like I've talked about before, like you can kind of see there's sort of, but somebody even sent me the high resolution copy of this. This is from Joseph Smith Papers. But this is emphasized that there's a bald spot there. And then it's emphasized that there's a line coming down on that side. It just looks a lot more vague here. But when you look at that painting, things are a lot more exaggerated. And you see that sharper corner and just a lot of these different things that, and how thick the eyebrow is. Yeah. So this was commissioned by Joseph Smith III. As far as the story goes of Joseph Smith III handing someone a daguerreotype and saying, paint something, it's this. Okay, so he, as an adult, says that he had the daguerreotype, because he's a part of this from the beginning of this painting. The 1842 painting is already done. They probably painted over it. I don't know. It's hard to know, but we'll move on here to the 1910 letter. So when you read this in full, you see the first thing he talks about is this painting. Okay, he's talking about this painting. So I've been wondering about this, and I didn't get permission until recently to put this on my website, and they wanted a link to their website. Just trying to be respectful. And so he says it's a duplicate oil painting. So he's saying, I don't like your painting that you published in the Salt Lake Tribune. You need to see my duplicate. He's excited about this painting. But then it gets confusing, like, well, he talks about another painting, the authentic oil painting, which is this is the authentic oil painting that is it's still in Missouri, the headquarters of the Community of Christ, which used to be the reorganized church. So saying it's an independent, and this is where he's saying this person painted my Uncle Hiram. Well, who painted Uncle Hiram? Well, David Rogers did. Okay. He's criticizing, talking about a ring on the wrong hand, but his own painting shows the ring on the right hand. So this is 1910. He only lives 4 more years and he dies in 1814. And I found several sources from descendants of Joseph Smith that Joseph Smith III was going blind before he died. So he's just having some health problems, and so he starts So he says some things that sound a little less consistent, like he throws the word 1843, and then he's like, I think. You can tell he's a little bit confused as he's writing this, but I don't think he's a liar, and I don't think if someone's off about one thing that we should all be like, let's not listen to anything they say, as a lot of people do. Um, but he does mention the daguerreotype. So, and then this all comes from. So basically, it's like, well, which painting did he sustain the characteristic license to his father by the daguerreotype? Well, obviously, it's this one. This is a duplicate. This is the original. But you see how level this is? This side almost comes up a little bit. But when you look at my picture, the eyes go like that. And there's possibly a head tilt, but all these other details, just a lot. I could really go into it, but coloring's definitely really different. But basically, there's a lot more contrast, and he is holding the daguerreotype or handing it to the man and saying, "Here, I see this on my dad. I see that," But they're not creating a whole painting from the daguerreotype. They're creating this painting from this painting, but looking at the daguerreotype and sort of changing it. And so all these other things are just, Utahns are confused. Joseph Smith III he would just come through, visit his cousins, and preach and stuff, but he wasn't necessarily giving an interview with the Salt Lake Tribune and being asked. Like, there's no sit down conversation with Joseph Smith III about the photo of his father. Like, he's there, staying with cousins, maybe walks through town, probably was just scared to talk to too many people, and then just went back to either Illinois or Missouri. He never lived in Salt Lake. And so you can watch this where I talk about why William B. McCarl says that he thinks that William Major did the painting. William Major was from England. He wasn't there when Joseph Smith was 36. Just everything Junius F. Wells and everything Joseph Smith III says lines up, whereas William B. McCarl, who just probably wouldn't have had access to like the Saints Herald because he's at BYU, Utah, at that decade. The reorganized Church of Christ Latter-day Saints, they're not necessarily sharing documents or sharing anything. That didn't happen till, I believe, the late 90s. So that's how you get, when I went to downtown Salt Lake, like the most recent book, like the whole concise talking about everything, was like the early 90s. And he said that it couldn't be David Rogers because he said 1843 is what they said in this book. I'm not going to quote the name of the book right now, but that was like the most recent book about all. So as people are asking me all these questions, it's like, what has been written? Now I really can say. Last time, other than Millions Shall Know Brother Joseph, again, they handed that to me too, which I wanted to read. I didn't really want to buy it, but it was good to read it all. But here, it's just really obvious that all these pictures are just way too much alike to be anything but the photos of the painting. And when you put the death mask, like the nose is here, it just really is way off. I mean, I know there can be camera distortion, but there to there actually does match my picture. So, better than the painting matches the date. My picture matches the death mask of Joseph Smith better than these photos. This photo of Joseph Smith does. Okay. But it's definitely of no one else but Joseph Smith. It's just a photo of a painting. And I think why the nose ended up down there, I think because David Rogers said he was depressed, and I imagine if he's depressed, his head is down, and then that messes up the alignment of everything when you paint it. I've taken portrait painting classes and measured things, and I've drawn from photos. I love drawing people, so I've just, even without being told, just from staring at photos and drawing them, like about how things change when someone's head is at a different angle. And so this is just my picture flipped around. So that's about it. So this is my quick video about my update on the timeline. Okay, have a good day.